Let's take a look at the camera app. If you tap this, you'll see it takes a couple seconds to launch. It uses the camera, which is mounted on the back here. It can take pictures up to 1600 by 1200, and it's really quite simple. There are no settings. You just hit capture. You see the little hand appear, and then you have a choice. Say it shows you what you captured, and you can save it or hit cancel. I'm going to save, and the pictures are not that fantastic, but probably good enough for taking a picture of the whiteboard at the front of the room to include in your notes and reading it later. Voice memo. This is the audio recorder. Why did they call it voice memo instead of audio recorder? We can only theorize that that is because the microphone has such a short range that it can really only record the voice of the person near it. We've tested this, and the range isn't that bad. We were able to hear people, near us in the room, but it's definitely doesn't seem good enough for a classroom where you might be sitting in the back and you want to hear what the teacher is saying. Unlike other audio recorders we've used in Android phones and dedicated voice recorders that have microphones, this thing simply is not very good at detecting sound, and it tends to focus on the sound that is right near it. So if you're writing on the screen while you're recording, you'll actually hear the noise of the stylus touching the screen more loudly than the noise of the voices in the room, which is really not good. But one thing that you can see is here we've started recording, and up here on the top corner of the screen you're going to see a flashing microphone. I can go back home now, and I can go into the notes program, and I can be writing a note while this is recording, and I can even pause the recording by tapping on this, and it'll give me a little menu up here to pause or stop my recording. So you can, record audio and take notes at the same time, but the audio file that you record has no relationship to the notes. They're not synced together in any way. The next app we're going to take a look at is text messages, or I should say text memos. This app seems a little bit strange. It just allows you to put a little memo on this little block here, and you can't handwrite it. You have to type it using the virtual keyboard. We're not really sure what the point of this is. You can export these memos using the software, but why you need them in the first place rather than using the handwritten notes is a little bit of a mystery to us right now. Photo album. This is just simply a manager where you can go and look at all of the things that you've photographed and also things that you've captured. One thing that you might notice as you're going around the operating system here is that there's a little tab here that says snapshot at the bottom, and if you tap it, it will actually save to the memory what was on the screen. So for tech reviewers like us, this is a dream because we actually can take screenshots without going through any kind of rigmarole. There's a music player on here, so if you wanted to play music on it, you could. We haven't really given this a lot of testing yet because it doesn't seem like a very important use of this device. Calculator, as you might imagine, is an on-screen calculator with nice big buttons here that you can use. Useful for students. Dictionary allows you to search for words. Is somewhat useful. We wish they had multilingual dictionaries on here where you could look up things in other languages. Let's have a quick look at settings. Not a lot of settings you can do. You can set the Wi-Fi, because this does have Wi-Fi for the web browser and potentially for syncing. You can change the default background here that you use for notes. Set your date and time. Set the sleep timeout. Set maybe what your account is for Evernote. So a few things in there. Trash bin. We don't even need to go in here to see what that does. And then there's the web browser, which is labeled deliberately as experimental and really isn't very good. Maybe through software updates this will get better, but let's just take a quick look at what you do get. So you can see that it actually only works in landscape mode, and this somewhat calls attention to the fact that this tablet does not have an accelerometer. It only works in portrait mode for almost everything that you do except the browser. So if we just rotate this really quickly, you can see what the browser is like. It needs the Wi-Fi connection. We've loaded our website in here. It's so-so. It doesn't support Flash. It doesn't support video. It's not a very good browser, and you can't switch back to home and leave the browser open. You have to tap this close browser thing. Maybe if our home button here actually worked, then we could do that. There are a couple of not so great games on here, and you can see that there are no further home screens. So really that's about the extent of the software on this. Let's just take a really quick look at the hardware. We really like the look and feel of this system. I mean, the grayscale screen has great viewing angles. It feels very solid in the hand. It stayed completely cool the entire time, no heat whatsoever. And if you look at the bottom here, you will see that we've got a headphone jack. We've got a little reset, emergency reset button, which you can use to reboot the system using your stylus. We've got a micro USB port. Now this is really awesome. Not only can you sync your content with your PC, but you can charge, you must charge using the USB port. So no proprietary docking stations on this tablet. Micro SD slot and the power button right here. If we go around the sides, there's nothing on the sides, but you can see this isn't too thick. The top here, this is where the stylus pops in, and for some oddball reason, you may not see it on the video, there's a tiny hole in here, and that's the microphone. Maybe if ASUS had put the microphone in a better place, it would have better reception. We don't know. Finally, on the back, you can see our camera, and you can see that this is a really nice brushed, we think it's metal, brush design here. Very comfortable in the hand, really attractive device here, the E-Note. So what this device is really missing right now, obviously, this English language software is in beta. The buttons aren't working like they did when we had this running the default Chinese language software. But it's missing, in our view, good synchronization between the audio and the notes. Obviously it could be a little bit faster when it comes to loading the apps. The microphone really needs to be better. But this is a device with a lot of potential, and maybe with the final build of the software, maybe if this comes to the US, that potential can be fulfilled, because it is the first tablet we've seen that really puts a square focus on students and business people who need notes to work. This is Avram Pelch with Laptop Magazine and the ASUS E-Note EA800.